utopia, take away the economy from those who rigged it. As I see it, class warfare, the only resort to right-wing doom. It's worth it. How to talk to your right-wing relatives, friends, and neighbors, and other books written by Egberto Willis. Welcome to Politics Done Right. My name is Egberto Willis, your host. Good morning, Houston. Good morning, Harris County. Good morning to the great state of Texas. Good morning to the United States of America. Good morning to the entire world, receiving our signals via the magic of el Internet, formerly known as the ARPANET, created by whom? We the people, now controlled by the billionaires and worthy of misleading the entire, not just the American population, but the worldwide population, so that a few, a distinct few, can control your minds, so that they can control everything that you own. Remember, I don't need to take your money immediately. If I have your mind, that's what preachers have always known. That's what many in the new church, well, not even church proper, in many churches proper, have always known. I don't need your tithe up front. I just need your mind. If I have your mind, I can get anything out of you. Well, folks, let's all recover our minds. Anyway, without further ado, let's move to the studio with our lonesome El Senor Jacques Van Beba.
Good morning, Egberto. How are you?
I am fine, my brother. Talk to me.
Well, looks like that the latest drug boat that they hit. A picture I saw was of a passenger ferry, open sea passenger with open people sitting in it. So
That's what
that's
I
pretty.
saw too. That's what I
That's
saw too, but hey, they don't care, Jack. Some lives are expendable,
well, I care.
We
I
all
care.
should care.
Yes, this is wrong. Okay, I'm going to go over your show today. The show opens on a political landscape in flux, where the failures of conservative governance grow more unmistakable by the day, as Dr. Oz inadvertently verifies that Republicans have no coherent health care plan. A Senate candidate reminds the country that Medicare for all remains the only policy capable of stabilizing a collapsing system. At the same time, Marjorie Taylor Greene attempts an emotional reset on CNN, begging for forgiveness, but without offering the policy transformation necessary for real accountability. Meanwhile, a powerful new documentary on New Zealand's Jacinda Ardern reveals that what genuine leadership looks like when progressive values guide the nation through a crisis. Tonight's show connects these threads to expose a stark contrast between empty spectacle and substantive governance. Pretty cool.
Well, thank you, brother. You can see that I wrote that stuff last night because I said tonight's show. I'm like, oh boy. Oh, when you
This morning.
say tonight's show, it's like, this morning's, what can I say? Kind of robe on in. But anyhow, look, thank you for that, Jack. Thank you for that. Anyhow, before I get started, one of our listeners sent me an article that I missed a few weeks ago, and it had to do with Tom Tomlinson and what he had to say about what he had to say about. And let me see if I have that article. Yeah, about healthcare. Texas has 31 million people. A large percentage of those people, to be clear, and I want to make sure I get the numbers right. A large percentage of those people in Texas, and for folks listening in other states, remember, in many times Texas is a bellwether state because in as much as it votes in nationally very, very red, there are very huge pockets of blue, like Houston, Austin, El Paso, Dallas. These are all pockets of blue, even though, again, like I said, it's sort of run by red. But let's be clear. It is really a Gail, I'm not sure why you can't see the video. I'm looking at it myself coming back from Substack. So please go ahead and refresh your screen. Um, so anyway, I tell you what, before I get into that, let me just salute my folks that are here early. I want to commend you for starting up with us very early in the morning, and then I'll really get back to that. Lisa Blair from Atlanta, Georgia, welcome aboard. Udi Deemer, the land of Oz. I want to go home. Udi Deemer, I think, is from Deer Park. Harry Denson from Missouri City, Texas. And as well, we have Joe from Los Angeles, California. I just love you for waking up so early in the mornings, listening to the program, Joe. Lynette, welcome aboard. Christine Newton, welcome aboard. Shane D. Gayla Kunis, Andrew Cooper, thank you for being here. Agave, you know, if you tried agave syrup, it's pretty sweet. And we have Austin 2009. Judy, thank you all for being here. All right, going back to the subject at hand. In Texas, a million Texans, I should say, an additional million Texans will lose their health insurance because of the big, bad, beautiful bill. Another million people, okay? Now, Texas is a state that has the highest number of uninsured in the United States of America. Red state, one that doesn't really care about its people. After all, they didn't take the Medicaid expansion to the Affordable Care Act either, which means many Texans unnecessarily die by design of the Texas legislature. Our Republican Texas legislature tantamount to kill Texans by not giving them health care that is there for them to have. Let's get that out of the way. Now, a million more of these Texans will be out of health insurance. That's your brother. If there's a million people and there are 31 million Texans, it is bound to, that additional million is bound to touch you, meaning somebody you know. 1 in 31 Texans will now additionally lose their insurance, in as much as the other 20 something percent of Texans that don't have health insurance. Texas cannot afford another million citizens without health care, so says Chris Tomlinson a few weeks ago. Texas already has the highest uninsured rate in the nation without Congress reducing the subsidies available to low income people through Obamacare, kicking a million Texans with also hobble the entire U.S. healthcare system. Exactly. We are talking about something that's going to be systemic. 88% of Texans are concerned about the rising costs of healthcare. They never told you that when you elected them, did they? But we told you. Remember that. I want all of you listening to me. Remember that we told you that this is what we had in store for you based on how you vote. And this is what we chose. More than 4 million Texans bought their insurance through the healthcare.gov in 2025. So, even as a lot of folks like to make you believe, they hate Obamacare or whatever, healthcare.gov is Obamacare. And that's where 4 million Texans get their health insurance. You know why? Because it's a healthcare exchange where you choose and pick who you want to be your healthcare master, who you want to be enslaved by health wise. That's what we did. That's what we did. So I want you to be aware of that as we are talking about healthcare and other issues. I want you to be aware here in Texas alone, 1 million more people will lose their insurance. 4 million Texans shop on healthcare.gov. Over 20% of Texans are without health care. And our Texas legislature purposefully do not accept the Medicaid expansion to the Affordable Care Act, causing many Texans, thousands of Texans, to die every year. I guess that's what we call family values. I guess that's what we call believing in the sanctity of life. Welcome aboard LBW. La Profesora is in the house, as well as Bobby K, Darlene. Thank you all for being here. I'm going to go ahead before I go to Darlene or Dane. Let's go ahead and ask Tag. What brings you here as the first call in the morning, my brother?
Good morning, Egberto.
Talk to me, brother.
I was just curious. Has anybody heard Trump talk about draining the swamp lately?
Oh, well, you can't drain what you're in the middle of, right? And that's what he is. I mean, it is scary how swampy things have become. Actually, it's more than a swamp. It's like a swamp and quicksand, right?
It's like a tsunami.
Yeah. Yes. But anyway, what's
And
up, my brother?
I just hear about these people that are getting arrested again after being let out of jail for assaulting the Capitol building, and now they're being put back in jail.
Yeah, I mean, he has a criminal element that follows him. There's a certain part of his base that is a criminal element. The right wing militia guys, etc. A lot of these guys are criminals. And, one should expect that behavior from them, and that's the behavior we are getting from them. Not shocking at all to me, and I don't think it should be shocking to you.
Then last night I heard that World Liberty Financial had gotten a $2 billion purchase.
Well, what happens is that they invested. That's likely the only major investor in Donald Trump's cryptocurrency, right? That's what we're looking at. So I mean, I think it's called ByteDance or something like that. And
that guy from Binance, he got let out of jail.
Yeah, you got to pardon because
then the $2 billion comes in.
Yeah, he owns Trump, right? I mean, that $2 billion is what makes that company. He owns Trump. If he decides to withdraw the $2 billion or whatever, there ain't no Trump cryptocurrency. Remember, guys, cryptocurrency is a fraud, right? It is imaginary. They can talk about blockchain, keeping the ledgers for whatever cryptocurrency you're creating or whatever. Cryptocurrency is a sham. Even Donald Trump in the past knew it was a sham, but he knows that if it's a sham and you make it profitable for him, he will join the fold, which is exactly what he did. But cryptocurrency, you lose your shirt. Go ahead.
The $2 billion is hard to even imagine how much money that is. But when you think about how much interest it produces a year, $80 million a year just in interest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's how much $2 billion is.
Right. Well, let me tell you, it's a scam. Anything else Tag before I jump to John?
That's all part of what the draining the swamp's all about.
There you go. Thank you, my brother.
Have a good day. Thanks for taking my call, Alberto.
Take care, brother. Let's go to John from Minneapolis. Come on in, John.
Yeah, I just wanted to say as far as insurance, Donald is going to support these stopgap measures that essentially are going to make his friends a lot of money, and people are going to be left holding the bag. And there was an article, I think, in the Times, and, they went through the country. Some of the people that had these policies were paying after they had, made a claim. They usually would be denied and end up, having to be held responsible for $50,000, $100,000, et cetera, et cetera. And of course, essentially, they're going to take people's money and give them nothing. And even Aetna was against these kinds of plans. But United Healthcare, which is, I think, the largest and headquartered here, and the state, it was so corrupt and so nasty that the state of Minnesota would not allow them to write any policies in this state. They were, bring it on. Because, of course, they're just there to collect money and give it to their stockholders and executives and leave poor people, holding the bag. But the bottom line is what's going to happen with health care is that we're all going to pay more. So if people think that they're insulated from that, they're wrong. The only people that are insulated from health care costs are millionaires and billionaires, and that's exactly what they like. That's what they want.
There's one good thing I like about Minnesota, right? And in fact, your AG is a good friend of mine, Keith Ellison.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And
he's wonderful.
Keith Ellison, I spoke to him at Netroots, and we sat down and we were talking. And anytime I see him, I give him a hard time because I call him the savior of order in Minnesota. But he came
Yep.
straight out and said that's what he's going to be going after. All these corrupt organizations out there. He says that's what his office is taking care of, and by God, from the rentiers to the healthcare scams to all of that, you guys have somebody that's really looking out for your citizens, unlike the charlatan that we have here in the charlatan that we have here in Texas, who is always under indictment or something, in meaning, of course, Ken Paxton. So look,
Yep.
you keep
No, he's
electing,
great. He's a
you
great
keep
guy.
electing, right? Keep electing good people. But anyway, got to go to Augie, and then I need to talk about Ardern, my dear brother. So thank you, John.
Mm-hmm.
All right,
You're
let's go to
welcome.
Augie. Come on in, Augie.
Good morning. Well, talking
Good morning,
about
my
health,
brother.
Trump in his first term had a press conference outdoors, had a bunch of papers in his hand, and said he had a health care plan better than the Affordable Care Act, and he had it right in his hands.
Yeah,
But when a cameraman zoomed in on it, they were all blank pages.
yeah, I remember.
It was on national news show, that interview. I'm surprised nobody has said anything about that. Trump
It's
has
interesting.
better.
Yeah, I find so often the media purposefully disregards so much of the crap that's right in front of them to talk, so that people would be informed, but they somehow always forget to state those things. And, that's very true, Augie. Anything else, Augie, before I move on?
Oh, besides that show last night about the New Zealand Prime Minister, there
Oh,
was
that's
one of
yeah.
yes about the American Revolution, and they said until 1774, everybody called themselves British. It wasn't until 75, 76 that people started thinking of themselves as Americans, and then they had a big revolution with brother against brother, like the Civil War, and the loyalists who wanted the monarchy and the king were the conservatives of their time, the business owners.
Hmm.
So conservatives have been causing us problems since 1700s. It's something to think
Yeah.
about.
Thank you very much, Augie. Thank you very much for that.
Well, thank
Have a
you.
good day, my brother. Let me just say this, folks. Last night I was writing this blog, right? And but earlier on, I set to tape the prime minister. It's a little art. It's a documentary on CNN because I've always been a fan of Jacinda Ardern. She is the prime minister, one of the youngest prime ministers. Now, I don't think she's been the youngest, but one of the youngest prime ministers of England. I mean, not England, New Zealand. And within that documentary, I saw, like I said, I always loved this woman. This woman is a leader. She's progressive. She lives by her values, that sort of a thing. And I always watched how she operated. But the insight that I got from that documentary, based on the videos that her husband, then her partner, then, but that he was taken as she became the leader of the nation, and what transpired from the mass killing. I think it was in Falls Church, if I remember correctly, the mass killing by the white supremacists to the inception of COVID in her country. And as I watched that documentary last night, my only comment was, suppose the leader of America was intelligent. Suppose the leader of America then had a mind. Suppose the leader of America then was as responsible as she was, it would have been the entire world that would have been cared for, and likely epidemic, a pandemic mitigated. Because we know that under Obama and even under Bush 1, there were several kindles of pandemic that were embers that were possible, that could have possibly been lit, that because of responsible leadership in both the Obama, the Bush governments, it never occurred. But I want to say something about this woman because, in as much as I respected her a lot, I even respected her more by seeing the vulnerabilities of this woman as she governed through COVID. Let me first tell you the story a little bit because I think people need to understand it also from identity. No, folks like to think they hate identity politics, but this is a woman who took over her country after her party was in decline. The Labour Party, the guy who ran the Labour Party, the polls were horrendous. And, he just said, you're going to have to step up because, and she didn't want to, but she did and became the prime minister and the prime minister of the people then. And what she showed, in as much as she had to go through the sexist, misogynistic crap. One of the things that I always say is prejudice is terrible. Racism, sexism, all the isms are terrible. But you know why a lot of folks, even with all those isms, flourish? Because they have to be that much better and that much stronger. So when you heard Charlie Cook talk about when you see a person of color as the pilot, you wonder, you shouldn't have to wonder. You have to know that that person had to be darn good to make it that far. Like Jacinda Ardern. Jacinda Ardern was such a great leader. And I mean, such a great leader that in her country, when that massacre occurred, she was able to bring that country to take guns off the streets, take assault weapons off the streets in weeks to take care of her country, to make sure that that type of murder didn't occur again. And she thought that might have been one of the biggest issues that was going to hit her in the near term. But then she had to find a pandemic in the making. And Jacinda did something that you wish a president of the United States would do. Her husband, her partner then, wondered, why is it that you took so much on your own body, why didn't you delegate some more? And she said, I have to know. And being a woman, I understood it when I watched that documentary from the eyes of a person of color, from the eyes of a person that understands how the system is going to view you and that you didn't have the opportunity to make the mistakes that others could make. When she said in that documentary, I had to do it, I understood. But in her having to do it, in her having to be so meticulous, the country did so well during COVID. While everybody else was masked up, while New York, people were dying by the hundreds every day, in Seattle, in Houston, in all these cities around America, in rural areas around America, while people were dying, what Jacinda did is she followed the science. And you know what? If the virus didn't have where to spread, it would eventually have to die. I repeat, if the virus doesn't have a medium to spread, it had to die. I mean, that's just science, right? And when she locked down New Zealand, and she locked down the places and the people because of the leadership that she displayed, and because that she made the science known. They followed by, and they were rewarded for a very long time, being able to have open air parties and all in the New Year transition when everybody else was locked down. Her country was doing fine, and people could live. People could go to restaurants because they chose to have those several weeks of staying away, staying home. They chose to put out the fires as they occurred, as people stayed in. They followed the science. At that initial time, the Trump cancer had not gone overseas quite yet. And they survived, and they were able to live a good life, and they paid a sacrifice for a few weeks. Their economy suffered for a few weeks, but then they survived, and they opened air partied, etc. They could do as they please. But then, as the Trump cancer spread across the world, as that right wing, crazy, non science method of dumbification went to a particular sect, the right wing sect, a small part of their population out there in New Zealand, the virus raised its head again. And you had the entire, you had a small group of right wing, unintelligent, uninformed, easily led people, for lack of a want to be nice on the radio. They decided that they didn't want to follow the rules, and for a little bit, they for anti-vax, all that crap. They lost a little bit of control, but they still did much better than the United States of America. A great leader she was. But in the end, after serving 5 years, 5 solid years, 5 effective years of leadership, unlike Trump, who wants to stay in power even with his incompetence, she decided, you know what? It is time for me to go. Anybody who gets a chance to watch that documentary on CNN, I'm sure it's going to be played on, I think, the online on CNN today. Please check out that documentary. Look at what leadership looked like. I think at the time she was 39 years old when she became the prime minister. Look at that documentary. Read up about Jacinda Ardern. Look at the kind of leadership that we should be electing. The type that looks for science, the type that says, I'm going to do what's important for my country and not what's important to make myself a dollar, not hold back a vaccine until I find a way to monetize it. Please look at that documentary. And then maybe we will start. Well, we started with the last election, electing people who matter, electing people who will make a difference. But it was pathetic watching her in her bed. Rather, it was great, not pathetic. It was great watching her in her bed with all the science documents, with all the reports, and doing the work of the people of New Zealand to make sure she could have the best outcome for her country, because of a pandemic that could have been mitigated, that wasn't, because of the ineptitude of the countries led by men in a capitalist society who just refuse to shut down a government or shut down the corporate sector for just a little bit to effect the dying out of a virus so that life could continue again. Man, if we could have a Jacinda Ardern in every single capitalist country right now, we would have the type of economies that really work not for corporations, but for you. Why do we not? Why do we allow ourselves to be hoodwinked by a bunch of guys who care nothing about us, and we give them the semblance and we allow them to give the semblance of care. Why do we do that? Well, that's for another time. Anyway, I've got a video that I want to show you. It's Marjorie Taylor Greene yesterday all but begged for forgiveness. And I had to tape it right away. I had to do a double take. I couldn't quite believe it. But you know what? She did. I want you guys to listen to this as soon as I cue it up. I forgot to cue it at the right time, so I'm setting it up as I speak. I want you to listen to our good friend, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and listen to her with an open mind. I well, I'll explain it in what I have to say here. Then we'll take it on the other side. I had to do a double take. It turns out that Marjorie Taylor Greene, being interviewed by Dana Bash on State of the Union on CNN, all but begged America for forgiveness, begged for forgiveness for all the evil, all the ill will that she put out there. I mean, it's what she really did say is like, I'm so sorry. But you know what? Before I get into my narrative, I want you to listen to this and then we'll take it on the other side.
Congresswoman, you posted on X that President Trump is, with his comments, fueling a, quote, hotbed of threats against you. Obviously, any threats to your safety are completely unacceptable. But we have seen these kinds of attacks or criticism from the president at other people. It's not new. And with respect, I haven't heard you speak out about it until it was directed at you.
Dana, I think that's fair criticism. And I would like to say humbly, I'm sorry for taking part in the toxic politics. It's very bad for our country. And it's been something I've thought about a lot, especially since Charlie Kirk was assassinated, is that I'm only responsible for myself and my own words and actions. And I am committed, and I've been working on this a lot lately, to put down the knives in politics. I really just want to see people be kind to one another, and we need to figure out a new path forward that is focused on the American people, because as Americans, no matter what side of the aisle we're on, we have far more in common than we have differences. Yeah. And we need to be able to respect each other with our disagreements.
So just to put a button on this, you regret the things that you have said and posted in the past, the Facebook post that was taken down of you in 2020 holding a gun alongside the squad, encouraging people to go on the offense against the socialists, liking a tweet of somebody calling for the execution of Nancy Pelosi and former President Obama, just examples?
Well, Dana, as you know, and many people know, I addressed that back in 2021. And of course, I never want to cause any harm or anything bad for anyone. So that was addressed back then. And okay. I very much stand by my words I said then, and I stand by my words today. I think America needs to come together and end all the toxic, dangerous rhetoric and divide. And I'm leading the way with my own example. And I hope that President Trump can do the same.
Okay, here's the deal. We accept Marjorie Taylor Greene's apology. We believe in redemption. We believe that if one is not immutable, no matter where one comes from, what one did, if they really see the light, if they really want to work towards a better America, if they really, really want to come together and provide America with the actual policies that they need, I say, Marjorie Taylor Greene, for everything that you have said, for everything that you have done, personally, I can't speak for everybody, but personally, I forgive you. Not only do I forgive you, but let's work together. Let's make sure that Americans get family leave. Let's make sure that Americans get Medicare for all. Let's make sure that Americans get basic income. Let's make sure that Americans get paid vacation. Let's make sure that Americans get a true retirement. Let's make sure that all the things that the 20 happiest countries in the world have, let's make sure that you are on the bandwagon to prevent that. That is the way you atone for what you have done. So I tell you what, I accept your apology conditionally. Let's see if you can live up to what's good for all of us. That's what you claim you want to do in the interview. That's what you claim you want to do as you break away from Donald Trump in rhetoric. Let's see. So let's be clear here. You don't have to love Marjorie Taylor. You don't even have to believe Marjorie Taylor. But if Marjorie Taylor become a part of an alliance to do what's good for Americans, that's her job. You don't have to like her. You don't have to care about her. But I tell you what, please, don't just talk about it. Do something about changing. And you know what? At the same time, you may want to go to Jasmine Crockett and say, Jasmine, I'm sorry. You may want to go to the squad and say, I'm sorry. You may want to go to them individually for the things that you've done to them individually and say, I'm sorry, let's work together. Because those women in the squad, you know, they have a lot of good policies they want to make America work. So Marjorie Taylor, you're forgiven conditionally. So let's go ahead and make these changes that America needs, and then we'll remove that unconditionality. Absolutely so. Absolutely so. So yeah, look, anybody in MAGA, anybody that says I give up on all that rhetoric, I really want to work for America. Like I said, it means coming out with the policies that are going to help America and not put the rest of us in jeopardy as the current administration and policies are doing right now. Welcome aboard. We have Patrick Andrew Kaiser. Welcome. We also have in the house, Observatory 7. And I saw Cheryl Elkin. How you doing, beautiful? Lily, welcome aboard as well. Luis Benson, ¿cómo estás? Welcome aboard. Let's see who else we have. Deborah Ann, thank you for signing up on YouTube. Thank you so kindly, Deborah Ann. Who else have we got here? I think I saluted Udi already. Let's go to, I think it's Delilah. Come on in, Delilah.
Good morning, Alberto. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Talk to me.
Yes, good morning. Thank you so much for bringing it out about Marjorie Taylor Greene. I just have two things to say. The first, Marjorie Taylor Greene didn't break with the rhetoric. She was pushed out. Because, Donald Trump, he got angry at her for standing with those people regarding the Epstein files. And so now he's firing back at her some danger, talking rhetoric, giving rhetoric about her. Now she sees how it feels. So I call that chickens coming home to roost. The second thing I wanted to talk to you about is last week you talked about very briefly, you guys mentioned very briefly about Al Green and the people that are running for CD18.
Yeah.
I think it's Menifee and Amanda Edwards.
Menifee and Amanda Edwards, yeah.
Talk a little bit more about that. You didn't talk much about it, but for me, right now is a very crucial time, and Al Green has proven himself. Now, I do agree with you that we do need some young people, and I was upset that the precinct chairs got together and put Sylvester Turner in there. I love Sylvester Turner, but Mayor Turner was sick at the time they did that, and they knew that. And the Democrats upset me because they always play chess and the Republicans play checkers because they always give them a road to go in and destroy. And that was one of them. As far as Menifee and Amanda Edwards are concerned, I think they're both good candidates. But the question on the table for me is, will they be able to serve the constituents like or almost, akin to what Sheila Jackson Lee did. Because so far, all they talking about is fighting Trump. And Trump not going to be in office in 2 or 3 years. So what's next? But Al Green has proven himself, even though he's old. I mean, when you look at the Senate is made up of people 80 and older. Talk a little bit more about that for me, please.
Yeah,
Your thoughts on it. Love to hear
let me
it.
tell you. Let me
Yeah,
tell you
thank
my
you.
position. Thank you very much for that, Delilah. I love me some Al Green. Don't ever doubt what I'm saying. Now, Al Green is one person of four of what is it? I think it's of 435 people in the Congress. So I mean, he is a great representative. He's represented his district very well. Now, whether choosing between Amanda Edwards, Menifee, and Al Green, my heart would always be with Al Green because I know what he's going to do. I know what he has done. However, I do believe that we have to bring up the younger folk. I think Amanda is maybe in her mid 40s or so, and Menifee is in his mid 30s or so, mid or upper 30s. She's in her mid or upper 40s. I think it's time for folks like them, and both of them are great candidates. Don't get me wrong, both of them are great candidates. I think Green, in my opinion, again, this is just an opinion, Delilah. I think Green should run in the district that he lives in. Or I think it's going to be, I forgot what it's going to be, but and I think in 2026 he can win it. I also gave some topics about uh, tr- uh, th- Texas may have screwed itself because it made Republican districts less Republican as it tried to make Democratic districts more Republican. And in a landslide year where Donald Trump has decimated the country, I think a lot of these districts are up for grabs. And I think Brother Green can actually win in these districts because again he has name recognition. I think either Amanda or Manafee will win CD 18, no matter who Republicans put up there in CD 18 to run against them. So I think we could have a twofer instead of him fighting it out in a primary with those two. That's my opinion. I think by him staying in whatever district it is he's going to be in, he could win the whole darn. I mean, our area, our Houston area, could win the whole darn thing. That's my opinion. Let's just remember John. I forgot the name. He was in a supposedly +10 Republican district. He won it by +2. So that's the kind of year I think we're going to have in 2026. So that's just my thought, Delilah. I love some Al Green. I think anybody who stood up to Donald Trump in the belly of Congress as he did, they've got my vote. But again, I want those young people coming up, and whether it's Amanda Edwards or Christian Menifee, I think it is, or somebody else. I think it's time for us to start grooming these young, very professional folks. So just my thought. All right, folks, the telephone number 281-823-7747. I'm taking calls 281-823-7747. As I wait for some calls, let me ask of you who saw.
Hey,
Yeah,
Egberto,
go ahead,
Egberto,
please.
you gave out the wrong number.
Oh,
Seven
oh,
one
oh,
three
oh, oh,
five
my
two
God.
six.
Oh, God. Thank you for that. Oh, God. You know, I have two different numbers and I have the wrong one on the screen. Sorry about that. Anyway, telephone number 713-526-5738. Again, 713-526-5738. Thank you for correcting me, my brother. All right, look, folks. Yesterday, Dr. Oz was on, I think it was CNN. Actually, it was on CNN, and they asked about what plan does Trump has. Here it is. These guys are destroying your health care. They're they're causing you to lose your health care, but they have no plan. as far as, well, when you lose your health care, this is what you can do. And Bass asked him, so what are they supposed to do? Oh, well, we have all kinds of things to think about. We can give them subsidy. I mean, give them a check to go ahead and create a healthcare savings account, and then you can go ahead and buy your insurance on the market. Well, guess what Obamacare is? Obamacare is a marketplace where a bunch of private insurance companies go onto this Obamacare market. They have to follow certain rules to make sure that you're not getting conned. And that's why a lot of the businesses hate Obamacare, not because they can't sell insurance, it's because they can't con you. They can't deceive you. Understand this, people. Obamacare isn't what those of us that are real progressives want. Those of us that are real progressives want Medicare for all, health care for all, paid out of general funds where we all pay taxes and we all get insurance. That's the most sensible, most economical, most efficient form of delivering health care, bar none. It's not up for debate. But since we are in a system that's purchased by the private sector, the compromise was, okay, we'll have the marketplace under the umbrella of Obamacare. Obamacare, all these insurance companies that want to sell to the individual, that want to sell to you outside of your work environment, they have to follow certain rules. And these rules pretty much say they can't con you. They have to tell you what you're getting. They have to tell you what you're not getting, etc. It's the marketplace where it's a level playing field for all insurance companies to stick their products in there, and you get the choice to decide which insurance company you want to become your master. That's Obamacare. That's all Obamacare is. A marketplace that tells you that have insurance companies that have to follow rules, meaning that they can't rescind, that women cannot be treated as a pre-existing condition. All these things that they force insurance companies to follow the rules. That's what it is, nothing more. Now, and that just shows you the depth of ignorance of the right. Now they're saying, oh, if everybody get a chance to get their own money and they go shop for their own insurance, then things would be better because you'll have people shopping around. No, that's what Obamacare is. You get to shop around but the only thing you know on Obamacare is that these insurance companies are legit. They're not going to con you. That's all. Nothing more. And the fact that the fact that the mainstream media has not inculcated that in the minds of Americans is one of the most disastrous things in this country. This doesn't happen anywhere else, folks. Every country in the OECD has some sort of Medicare for all. Some of them are completely government run. Some of them, which is the best, most efficient form. Some of them have the private sector involved where they follow strict regulations. Let me just tell you, when you have the private sector involved in paying for healthcare, what you are allowing yourself to believe is math is wrong. You are allowing yourself to believe math is wrong. Private insurance cannot possibly ever be more efficient than government-run insurance. It's impossible. It's an impossible reality because private insurance must always have to pay shareholders. It also has to pay executives, bonuses, duplicitous databases, real estate costs, and all of that. So it is the fact that they have made us so unintelligent into believing that private insurance can possibly be less expensive than public I find it, as somebody who wants to look up at folks, that is the one thing I can't understand, that we don't get the impossibility of it and we allow ourselves to be conned. You take a look at social. You take a look at not Social Security, but Medicare right now. Medicare versus Medicare Advantage. Medicare is provided by the government. Medicare Advantage by the private sector, the majority of it. All right. Medicare Advantage costs a lot more to provide to the citizens than Medicare, traditional Medicare, and it is so sad that it's so hard for us to do that. Glenn says, Egberto, to Biden, he opened up the society quite quickly, if I remember correctly, including schools when we weren't sure if students were carriers and speeding COVID. You praised the PM of New Zealand to keeping things closed and did the opposite. As I never did the opposite at all. Never did. I always supported closure. Always supported closure. But anyway, let's see. Go ahead, Bard. What would you like to say?
Yes, good morning, sir. You're right.
Good morning,
we are
sir.
not going to give health care to illegal aliens. They don't deserve it. They're not citizens, so they don't get health care.
Bard, I can't help that you're misinformed. Next call. Thank you.
Run the post office.
I am not tolerating misinformation
So
today at all. I'm not in mood. Let's go to Moses.
Can't run the post office.
Let's go to Moses. Thank you, Moses.
Good
How
morning.
you doing, Moses?
Good morning, brother.
Good morning, my brother. Talk to me. Muy bien, gracias. ¿Y usted?
Okay. Of Margaret Taylor Greene, one stands advantage on two perspectives. With the inquiry made of two famous women, is she a Jezebel who employed the most vicious tactics to deliver the poor man's land to the king? Or is she a Deborah who led her nation to victory against the enemy? Now, as for forgiveness, it is the prerogative of God alone to forgive man. He alone knows the heart. We can only petition God to forgive her. Just as Jesus, when he was on the cross, he didn't forgive anybody. He called on God and he said, I make the petition, forgive them, for they do not know what they're doing. It was God's prerogative to forgive. Moses had to fall down and beg God not to kill the Israelites that were dancing in front of the golden calf. If she is genuine in her confession, we will see the change to reverse the affliction poured upon the people. If, like the president of New Zealand, she is a Deborah, we will see how she takes the lead to bring redemption into this country and thwart all of the actions of Donald Trump. So we stand upon two perspectives and we wonder, who is Margaret Taylor Greene? Is she a Deborah standing up in the face of the enemy to bring victory to her country? Or is she a Jezebel using all kinds of vicious tactics to steal the land for her president? Thank you.
Thank you so kindly, Moses. Mostly always have the biblical portion of it, and I love that story. In my Christian days, I mean, and it's amazing because I lived through a lot of those. There are some great parables and stories in the Bible that I grew up with that allows me to be able to talk about how a whole lot of these evangelicals are failing what they purport to believe. And I think you do a good job of illustrating that. I'm a humanist now, but I so respect, again, whatever religion that's doing positive for humanity. That's where I'm at, folks. That's where I'm at. We only have about a minute or so, so let me go to the Jack before I close out. Brother Jack, anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, yesterday I went to the mailbox and pulled out the mail and thumbed through it, and the person I live in front of, he's 51 and he's Hispanic, and they haven't issued him a green card this year, so he's working. But Medicare Advantage had sent him a letter trying to get him to sign up for Medicare. Isn't that nice of them?
That is crazy. Thank you, my
That's
brother.
crazy.
Let me go ahead and say this. We have to wise up, folks. I mean, there are agents out there, and it's all about business, right? You remember when people thought about, oh, we don't want to close the thing down, you're losing my liberty and all of that. That didn't originate from the people. That originated from business. Business don't care about you. They don't care if you die or live. They just care about making sure that they continue to live, make the money. The owners of those business live in their controlled environments. They don't have to worry about the sicknesses and death. You do, and they don't care about you. That's why they're put out the misinformation to mislead you. Please, we have got to wise up, people. We have got to wise up and start looking at those who really care about us all. And let's give each other grace. Anyway, thank you all for listening. The rest of the program is at politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. Politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. You can reach me directly at kpft@politicsdoneright.com, kpft@politicsdoneright.com. And I say this from the depths of my heart. Love you all, bar even you, as misinformed and ill-informed that you are and allow yourself to be. Love you too, brother. But that said, you know how I end this, baby. My name is Egberto Willis. This is Politics Done Right. And you know how I get out of here. I'm what? Out!